Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is, I believe, part 4 of What If Naruto Was Blessed. We left off, I'm pretty sure he went to sleep. Or he just went in his room. I'm pretty sure they left off with our classic ending. And sometimes I do this and sometimes I don't. But I am going to do it. Naruto woke up in his mindscape. And he wanted to talk to the ancient god. And he asked the ancient god some questions. And he asked the ancient god who was his mom and stuff like that. And then the ancient god said, well, I really can't tell you because it's kind of personal. And then he was like, well, do you have a girlfriend or something? And he was like, I actually do. And he was like, who is it? And then he was like, well, you have to meet her first. And then Naruto was like, well, okay. And he was like, well, do you have a son? And then he said, actually, I do. And then, well, I mean, do you have a child? And then he said, well, actually, I do. He said, who is he? And then Naruto said, and then Ichigo said, well, some people call him a sage. He's like, what does that mean? You study books. And he was like, oh, wait, is there something sage is six paths? And he was like, and then the ancient god was like, what if he is? What if he's not? And Naruto was like, just tell me. And he was like, no, you do not control me. He was like, you're lucky I don't control you. And then he was like, is that a threat? And then Naruto was like, no, it's not a threat. And then the ancient god said, it better not have been. And then Naruto was like, yeah, it wasn't a threat. And then Naruto, he said, well, I'll be seeing you. He said, well, I'm in your head, so. He said, that's what I meant. Then he left out of his mindscape. He got up and went outside. And Naruto was like, it's nothing better than some fresh air. And then the ancient god was like, true. Naruto was like, okay. And Naruto started walking on the street. And he went to the Hokage's office, asked the Hokage did they have any missions. And the Hokage said, yes, actually, we are trying to infiltrate the Earth village right now. And he said, I thought the war ended. And he was like, it did end. But me and the other Hokage, well, I forgot the Earth village's Hokage name. Not like the actual Hokage's name. I'm talking about like the name they call Hokage. It's not Hokage, but it's something else. Whatever. Bro, I gotta look it up. And I don't even know how to pronounce it. Don't get on me, bro. Like, you can't even, bro. Wait. I literally forgot what I said. Yeah, he said he had talked with the, what's the name? The Hokage. He said that he had talked with the CB. Don't say. He talked with the Hokage and he was like, well, what? And he was like, well, it was a very angry fight. And he said, okay, can you just give me the details? And the Hokage said, no need to get mad here, Naruto. And then he said, but I will get to the details when I want to. And he said, I just want to infiltrate the base. And he told him all the details, and then Naruto told Hashirama's daughter or his girlfriend that he was leaving. And she said, "Where are you going?" And Naruto said, "I don't think I can tell you that. It's a mission." And she said, "Okay." And then he was like, "I'm gonna follow him." And Naruto he's gonna follow me, isn't she? And then Naruto found his ninja outfit. This is his ninja outfit. I'm gonna show you. Well, I couldn't find it, but let's just say he was wearing it, and he said, "Well, I gotta go," and then he ran off, and then she saw him leaving, and he's like, "Where could he be going?" And he said, "Oh, wait," and then she saw him turning back around, and she hurried up and hid. And let's just say Naruto, he hurried up and he body flickered to Lee's house. And he said, "Hey Lee, we got a mission." And then he body flickered to Ina's house with Lee, and she and Lee asked what's going on. And then Naruto said, "We have a mission." And then he opened up the door, and Hinata opened up the door and said, "Yeah, Naruto." And then she was like, "Oh, hey Lee." And then Lee said, "Oh yeah." Then he said, "It's not time for that. We gotta go. We have a mission." And then he was like, "What mission?" And he was like, "I'll tell you on the way there. We gotta go." And then he started explaining what was happening. And then they said, "Okay, let's go." And then they were like, "Well, we gotta be we gotta be super secretive." Then they said, "So, we gotta get the earpieces and stuff so we can talk to each other." And then they said, "What is this? A spy movie?" And then he was like, "Well, not really." And then they were like, "Well, we're infiltrating a base, so basically." Then he said, wait here." And then he put some chakra in his hand, and the sword appeared. Blah blah blah. And then let's just say he used his light powers. He used his light powers, and then his lightning powers, and the light powers were for the like he made earphones out of light. I'm gonna just say that, and he used the lightning to give it electricity, and then he said, "Have these," and they're like, "Oh, so that's how you made the headphones and our first fighter listen, or whatever you call it." And he said, "Yeah." And then they were like, "Why didn't you just tell us?" And then he said, "Well, at that point, it was, secretive." And he was like, "Well, we were your teammates, so you could have just told us." He was like, "Well, I really didn't want to." And he was like, "It was kind of special to me, so I didn't want anybody to take it from me." He said, "Well, but let's just go." And then they started running. And halfway there, Naruto sent somebody, and he was like, "I think I know that person." Then she was like, "Oh God." And then she hid behind a tree, and he was like, "Hey, get from behind that tree." And I gotta go over my head. Where are you? And, bro, hold up. I'm sorry, but I still don't got her name. But anyways, so what is it? Yeah, he was like, "Get from behind that tree," and he said her name, and she was like, and then she didn't go from behind that tree. He said, "It's probably just nothing," as he kept looking at the tree. Then she climbed up the tree a little bit and peeped her head over it and saw that Naruto was still looking. And she was like, "He definitely still knows." And then he was like, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Well, I just want to follow him." He said, "It's too dangerous." And he said, "You guys keep going. I'm gonna go on a quick run." And then I said, "What do you mean by quick?" He said, "Oh no, I'm just gonna walk over there, hurry up and run, and then put her down." Then she said, "Naruto, don't you?" And then before she could say don't you do it. She was already back to Naruto's side. She was like, dang it. And then Naruto, and then like they walked one step, and then Naruto was back. He was like, so let's go. And then Naruto started running really fast, and then stopped himself and turned back around. And they're like, why didn't you keep going? Well, it wouldn't be as fun without my teammates. And he was like, okay. And then he said, at last you. Then he said, you need to get on my back. And then he said, what do you mean? And then he said, never mind. He said, actually, Lee, you get on my back first. And Lee was like, this sounds kind of weird. Then he said, okay. And then he grabbed Lee by his shirt. And he just ran all the way to the earth place and dropped him off. And then he just picked up Peanut and ran and dropped him off. And he was like, well, we're here. And they were like, couldn't you just have done that like so much longer ago? And he said, well, I just got the idea. And then they were like, we had to walk all that way. And then Naruto said, yeah, not my fault. He's like, but it is your fault. And he was fault. And Naruto was like, sorry that I'm fasting. You guys are slow. And then Lee got mad, and then he stopped. And then Naruto said, well, I think I might have that connection underground, but which way should we go? Because I'm feeling a little underground action, but I want to feel it more spy, but I also want to do it safe. And you guys cannot go underground. And then Lee said, I can. And then Lee started digging. He said, that's not gonna work. They're Earth. They know how to use Earth, and they can feel anything in the Earth. The reason why they wouldn't expect me in the ground is because they will probably think it's just one of their own men. But I do not want to risk that, so I guess I will have to metal bend. Then he was like, metal bend? What is that? And then Naruto said, yeah, I don't really know. I guess special people in the world have it. Then he moved, like two of his fingers were together, and then he moved them apart, and then the metal bars they were like moving up, and then he was like, couldn't you have did that with all the other missions? And Naruto said, not really. I think I like more action. And they were like, really, Naruto? And Naruto said, good, it's not my fault. And then he looked at Naruto and said, oh, it's not your fault again. He said, oh, good, it's not. And then he's like, let's just go. And then he said, hide your chakra. And then he said, well, hide your presence, I mean. And then they hit their presence. It was like, wait, where did you guys go? And they were like, I'm behind you guys. So I was like, you have some really nice hiding presence skills. And they were like, and then Naruto was like, well, I always hid in my presence as a kid. He was like, what? And then he not to say nothing. And then he said, okay, enough with the talking. Let's just go. And then Naruto said, well, I go in and you two take out the guards on the top. Lee, you go right, and Hinata, you go left. And when you meet up, or whatever, go down from the bottom, because if I'm speaking correctly, there's an earth ladder there. And if there's not, just talk in the mic and I'll, make one. And, after that, I think you should either come in through the front or Lee, you go back right, and Hinata, you go back left. And if you find anything, just tell me. But the right and left plan would be a good idea. If you just came on one side, we wouldn't know what's on the other side. So you should just come that way. And they were like, well, that's a good idea, Naruto. And then Naruto said, what? And he's like, never mind. And then Naruto went inside, and they, went out. And let's just go to Lee's point of view. At Lee's point of view, he was sneaking around and crawling. And then he found one guard and knocked him out, and hurry up and ran. And then he knocked out every single guard, and Hinata did it as well. Then they came down the ladder, and then they went out opposite sides. And let's just say they found that it was some blood on the wall and a lot of security. And then on Lee's point, that's what Hinata saw. And on Lee's point, it was absolutely nothing. And then Hinata was like, "Well, I found some blood," and then he was like, "That's not good." And then he was like, "Yeah, and this side of that side is way more protective. It's like hard." And he was like, "Did you knock on it?" "Yeah, and I heard this other sound, and it was like somebody was knocking back." He was like, "So you are on the left side, right?" He said, "So it must be people on the left side." And then I'm like, "Okay, I'll go to the left side, but you guys go to the right." And actually, yeah, I'll go to the left side. And Lee, you go in the middle. He's like, "Why me?" He said, "Well, and then Naruto said, "Well, I'm the fastest and the strongest, so it'll be easier for me to open the things, and it will take y'all at least like 2 hours, because I can tell this place is pretty big, so it's probably a lot of people." And they were like, "Well, how do you know some of those people are even good?" And Naruto said, "Well, somebody told me that all the people were good in this place." And he's like, "Who?" Then he said, "I don't want to tell y'all." And let's just say the ancient god said everybody in there was a good person, and they had no murders or no crimes on their stuff or list or whatever. But anyways, and then he said, "Well, why do I have to go in the middle?" It goes on the right side because I really, if any guards are in the middle, he's my friend, and he's like, "Oh, I get it." And Naruto said, "Yeah, and he was like, "Why can't I go on this side too?" And then Naruto said, "Yeah, sure, we'll explore that first part together." And then they're like, "Sure." And then he just said, "Well, can I come with you, Naruto?" And Naruto said, "I don't think that will be happening." She said, "Why?" And then Naruto said, "No reason. I just don't. This is gonna happen." He's like, "What do you mean?" And then he said, just go with the plan." And then Naruto busted every bar down. And then they thought they heard something. They were like, It was probably just that one guy being on his bars again, wanting to get out." And then he said, "Everybody, let's go. Be very, very quiet." And they were like, "Oh, so you got them?" And then he said, "Yeah." And then they were like, "Well, we found a very secretive sale." And they were like, "What do you mean secretive?" He's like, "Well, it was a bookshelf, and Lee kind of wanted to read it because one of the books looked interesting. And when he pulled it, it like went in the wall. It went down into the ground, and then a cell with at least 3 rows of bars was right there. And then we saw a man back there, and he was like, "A man?" And then he said, "Hey, ancient god, who is that?" And he said, "I don't want to tell you right now." And he said, "What do you mean?" He said, I'm not gonna tell you right now." And he was like, "Oh man." And then they were like, "Well, this guy, he says he's a Senju and that he belongs in the Leaf Village." And he's like, "Wait, what?" he said he was a Senju, and also he said that he belonged in the Leaf Village, and that he was really important to the Leaf Village, but he didn't tell us anything else. He was and he was like, he also had uh, he also had brownish hair, and he was why did I need that information? He was like, no reason, but we have a theory. Then he was like, okay, and then he was like, well, I got everybody out. I'm telling them to sneak out, and hopefully them guards are still unconscious. And then Naruto literally just had told them to sneak out, and that the guards were knocked out. Then they snuck out of the place, and they were walking, and then halfway there, and they were halfway there, and then he hurried up and ran 2.1 seconds fast and to the where they were, and then he saw that person. He was like, "Oh, you look like somebody." He said, "Oh, you look like my girlfriend." He was like, and then he was like, "Well, anyways, let's get you out of here." And he was like, "Kid, I don't think you want to do that." And he was like, "I'm a Leaf Villager, and I know what I'm doing." And he was like, "Wait, are you a Leaf Villager?" And he's like, "Well, I just told you that." He said, "How strong are you?" And he's like, "Well, I'm pretty strong." And then they're like, "Oh no, he's very strong. He's super strong. He's like a god if he wasn't so Naruto." And then if he wasn't so him. And then Naruto said, "What is that supposed to mean?" And then they said nothing. Then Naruto said, "This one might give me a little bit of scratch." And then he will say, "What do you mean?" And Naruto clocked back this hand, and he was about to punch the boss, and then he said, "I should stop myself." And then he was like, "Wait, what?" And then he was like, "Why would you try to do that, kid?" And Naruto said, "Oh, sorry." And then he was like, "But I could do it if I wanted." And then he said, and then Hinata and Lee both said, "I think you should do it with your pinky, you know? The bars will probably fly everywhere." And then the guards would get a little bit skeptical. And he was like, "Didn't you knock out the guards?" "Well, we're pretty sure we heard some people talking in the middle of the hallway, and they're in the middle of the place." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And then Naruto gave it a little tap, and then it all three of them fell down. And he was like, "How did you do it?" And then all three rows of it fell down. And he's like, "How did you do that?" And Naruto said, "Oh no, I'm just very, 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 very strong." And then he was like, "There's no way you can be that strong. That's kind of impossible." And he's like, "Well, not for me. Nothing is really impossible for me." He's like, "Well, that's some impressive strength you got there." He was like, "Yeah, thanks." And he was like, "Well, we gotta get out of here. We gotta go back to the Leaf Village." And then he said, "Yeah, sure." And then, hold on, my fault. And then he was like, "Sure." He was like, "Sure, let's go back to the Leaf Village." And then Naruto hurried up and said, "Man, this was not that fun as I thought it would be. Man, I wanted some action." And then Hashirama said, "What's wrong with you in action?" And he said, "Well, we actually bond. We're buddies." And he was like, "What do you mean we're buddies? Action is a word." And he was like, "Well, not to me." And he was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "And nothing." And then he was like, "Okay." And then Naruto was like, "Well, anyways, And then Naruto was like, "Anyways, I'm gonna have to go. So I'll see you guys later." And then they were like, "Naruto, please do not do it." And then Naruto said, "Oh," he was like, and then they were like, and then Naruto was like, "Come on, I really don't wanna." And then he was like, "Do it." And then Naruto grabbed, saying, "Yeah, Chuck, can you get on my back? I'm not picking you." He said, You have a lot of strength. You might as well do it. And then Naruto said, I'm not doing it. And then Naruto hurried up and ran. Hurried up, like he ran super fast. And he got to the village gates. And then he hurried up and ran back. Got there, like, the whole thing, the whole operation took 6 seconds for all of them. It was 2 seconds for Hinata, for him to get there and then get back. Then it was 2 seconds for the rest of them. And so it took 6 seconds for him to do that. But hypothetically, it was really like 16 seconds. Well, not 16. Hypothetically, it was 9 seconds. But who cares? And then Hashirama was like, how are you so fast and how are you so strong? And then he was like, I'll tell you more about that. And he said, well, I'm going home. And then he said, yeah, okay. And then Hashirama was like, my name is Hashirama. And then Naruto was like, wait, you're the first Hokage. Go talk to the Hokage. And then he brought him to the Hokage office. And well, they both body flicked to the Hokage office. And then the Hokage was like, Hashirama. And he was like, I thought you were dead, Hashirama. And then Naruto said, I thought Hashirama was dead too, but I guess not. And he was like, well, I really didn't die. I kinda. He said, what do you mean, kinda? You actually, what? And then Naruto was like, well, I better be seeing you. Now Hashirama was like, where's my host? And then they were like, and then Naruto was like, oh yeah, about that. It kind of got demolished, and you probably can be the Hokage again. And then the Hokage said that, and then Naruto was like, no, I'll take your spot of Hokage. I'm stronger and faster. And then Hashirama was like, well, he is stronger and way faster. And then he was like, but he's still too young. He still has to hit his 18 milestone. And Naruto was like, come on, I'm almost 18. I'm 1 year away. Let's just say he's 17 right now. And he's like, come on, please, yes, please, no, oh, no. And then I was like, no, Naruto. Naruto was like, oh, man. And then he was like, well, you can stay at my place, but we'll have to get a third bedroom for you. And then he was like, but anyways, I do have kind of a roommate, really. And then he was like, well, Hashirama, you can have my room. And then he's like, what do you mean? And then Naruto's, well, I kind of have a guest room. And he's like, why don't you just stay in your room and I go to the guest room? He's like, well, it's kind of occupied right now. He's like, then why are you going in the guest room? Well, because it's part of my family. And then Naruto knocked on the door and he said, it's me. And then she opened the door and she saw Hashirama standing behind Naruto. And then she was like, Dad? And then Hashirama was like, and then he said her name, and then they hugged, and then he was like, you two know each other? And then he was like, yeah, this is my dad. And Naruto, he was sitting there like, oh. And he was like, oh. And then he didn't know. He said, so who was, he said, wait, didn't you say she was kind of like family? And then he said, well, I'm kind of dating your daughter. And he's like, what? And then and then Hashirama said, it's okay anyways. You're a strong person. And then Naruto said, thanks. Coming for somebody like you, that really means a lot. And then he's like, don't sweat it. And then And Naruto said, "Who said I was sweating it?" Then he said, "What does that mean?" And then he was like, "Wait, are you sleeping with my dad?" And Naruto was like, "Wait, no, no, no." He said, "Well, kinda today." And then she's like, "What do you mean?" And then he said, "Well, Hashirama is staying at my room for now." And then he said, "Not." And then Hashirama was like, "Wait, you look familiar." He was like, "Yeah, you probably." And he's like, "Oh yeah, and plus I forgot to, introduce myself." He was like, "Well, if you don't remember, my dad, Minato." He was like, "Wait, so you're Naruto Uzumaki?" And he was like, and then Naruto was like, "Yeah." And then Hashirama said, "Well, you have permission to stay in there, but no funny business." And Naruto said, "Yeah, definitely." And then, Naruto said, "Well, all you gotta do is, obviously turn and then keep walking straight, and then you should see a door right there, and then that's your room for now." And then Naruto said, "I'll pay for your house." And then he said, "That really doesn't have to. You really don't have to do that." And then, mm, and then, and then Naruto was like, and then Hashirama was like, "Naruto, you don't have to pay for my house." And then he said, "Well, since you have been in like, containment or whatever, I, you don't have money." He's like, "Well, I can get some money." He said, "Well, I kind of want you to move with my house." And he's like, "Why is that?" And he said, "Okay, you can stay here for as long as you want, but I don't think that's gonna be long." Then he was like, "Yeah." Then he said, "Well, the house should take at least 6 months to build." And he was like, 6 months? And then Naruto he's like, "Actually, take that to a year." He's like, "A year? What are you trying to do?" He said, "Since you're a Hokage, it should." And then he said, "Get you a mansion or whatever." And then he said, "Wait, Naruto, how much is it gonna pay?" And Naruto said, "Around." And then he said, 50, 50,000. Right? He was like, 50,000? Are you insane? And then Naruto said, "No, not really." And he said, "How do you have that much money anyways?" And then he said, "Well, my dad kind of benefited his money to me." He said, "What about your?" And then he stopped his mouth and said, "Anyways." He's like, "Wait, what are you gonna say?" And then he said, Nothing, nothing, nothing." And he was like, "Yeah, I bet it was nothing." And then Naruto was like, "Well, anyways." He was like, "Well, yeah, you can go there." And then Naruto said, "I'll just be in the shower or downstairs or whatever." And then he just heard the water running, and then Naruto got out, and then he was like, "Oh God." And then he put on his clothes. He was like, "Oh God, I can't believe I have to live with this man for a year." But he was like, "I can't believe I live in a house with two people already. It's kind of weird, but I'll probably be living with two people. I'll probably be living with two people already." And he said, and then, Hashirama said, "What does that mean?" And then Naruto said, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" And then he said, "What does that mean, Naruto?" And then Naruto said, "You know what it means." And he's like, "Okay." Then Naruto said, "Don't do it, though." And then Naruto said, "Come on, man." He said, "When you're older." And Naruto said, "I wasn't planning on doing it now." And then Hashirama was like, "Yeah, you better not have been." Naruto was like, well, anyways. And then he...
Hey, what's up, Cap?
Hey, yo, what was that?
Hey, what's up, Cap? Hey, what's up? Hey, what's
Anyways, he was like, well, yeah, okay. And then Naruto said, well, I have to grab some of my clothes. And then Naruto hurried up and said, well, it's going to be quick. And he said, yeah, I can bet on it. And he said, yeah, I can definitely bet $1,000,000 on it. And then Naruto said, you forgot, you don't have money. And he said, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And, he said, and plus, I don't like the bets. And he's like, oh man. And then Naruto said, I think I'm gonna be able to meet someone that's exactly like you. He was like, what is it? What do you mean? He said, I just have a feeling. And then the ancient god really told him, and then he was like, well, that's kind of awkward. And then Naruto got all of his stuff, and then he went upstairs, and and then he put his clothes on the floor. He said, I'm going to go get another dresser, and then all you heard was phew, and then all you heard was the door open, and then all you heard was pew, and then a door slammed, and then he was like, I'm back, and then he was like, with the dresser that fast, and I just like, yeah, and he was like, well, it's kind of one of my techniques. I like to go speedy and fast, and then he said, well, I'll be teleporting with this upstairs. Then all you heard was poof, like all you heard was all you heard was like something was like hitting the ground like a little lightly. He was like this, and then he was like, "What the heck is this kid? This kid is like a god or something." Then Naruto said, "I'm not a god," and he said, "Huh? I don't believe you." And then Naruto just put the dresser down, and then put the clothes in it like really fast. And then Naruto laid on the floor. And then she was like, Naruto, why don't you sleep over here? And Naruto said, something Hashirama said clicked in my head. And then Hashirama said, you can sleep there. Just no funny business. Naruto said, yeah, sure. And then he said, but why do you keep screaming, old man? And then Hashirama was like, well, you're kind of screaming too. And then he said, nope, I'm just in your face. Every time you say something, I'm just right in front of your door. He's like, that's why you sound so loud. Well, how do you get there so fast? And Naruto was like, I kind of teleport. And then he was like, well, okay. And then Naruto teleported back, and he said, well, anyways. And then he laid in the bed, and he was laying down, and then he felt like something on him, and then he looked behind, like he twisted his head, and it was Hashirama's daughter, and he didn't think much of it, so he just fell asleep. And then Naruto woke up, and he tried to lightly move Hashirama's daughter, but she woke up, and Naruto was like, well, anyway, and then he went downstairs, and he was about to trip down the stairs, and he's like, not today, and he teleported. But he fell anyways because he teleported when he was kind of tripping, so he couldn't really get his form that fast. And so he said, dang it, that hurt. And then he said, yeah, but. And then he said, hey, Hashirama. And then he was like, yeah, what's up, Naruto? And then he said, I kind of have an offer. And he said, what do you mean? And then he said the offer. He's like, I don't think that'll be acceptable. He's like, what do you mean? And then the offer was giving him some of his power, Naruto giving some of his power to Hashirama. And then Naruto said, why? And then he said, well, because that's your, power, as he whispered in his ear. And then he said, okay. He said, why do you want to go away? He said, even if I gave you 1% of my power, even if I give you 1% of my power, you'll still be way faster and way stronger. He said, but I do not want that. Naruto, yeah, okay. And then, first, Rama really wanted to take the deal, but he didn't because he didn't want the power. He didn't want all the power. He didn't want all that power. And then Naruto said, well, I'll be heading out. And then he went to the Hokage's office, said, any missions today? And the Hokage said, actually, yes. We figured out that there's some leaf villagers. I mean, some earth villagers. Well, earth shinobi spying on us. And he said, how do you know? And then he said, well, we caught one of them. And then Naruto said, this is going to be fun. And then he said, what are you doing, Naruto? And Naruto pulled out his katana and said, I was just, kind of scared them. And he said, what do you mean scared them? You have to, take them hostage. And Naruto said, this is going to be put on my record, okay? And I don't want this to happen. And he was like, what record are you talking about, Naruto? And then Naruto was like, all that blessed stuff and all of that? Well, a god kind of came with it. And I do not want this put on my record. He said, what record? He said, you have a record, okay? And the record is basically where if you commit a crime, it goes on your record. And if you kill someone, it goes on your record. Basically, if you commit a crime, it goes on your record. And basically, taking someone in hostage is a crime. He said, it's not a crime if you don't kill them. He said, what do you mean? And then the ancient god said, well, actually it is a crime. And then the ancient god said, but I'll let it slide. And then he was like, wait, what are you? And he was like, are you the ancient god? And then he was like, yes, I am the ancient god, and I am hidden inside Naruto. That's why Naruto knows all this. And he said, hidden inside? He said, yeah, I'm kind of like the Naruto's, but I'm actual human person. And he's like, human? You're a god. How was that human? And he said, fair point. And then he was like, but okay. And Naruto petted the pale away. And he said, I don't want to bother going to Lee's house or Phoenix's. Then he body flickered to Lee and was like, we got a mission. Then he body flickered to him and said, oh my god, we have another mission. He was like, shit, you're always hyped about this. Why are you all good? And he was like, I don't want to body flicker to your house all the time. And he was like, oh, sorry to burst your bubble. And then Naruto said, it's nothing. And then he said, oh, hey, Lee. Giving him a dirty look. And then Lee said, hey, what was up with that look? And then he said, and then Naruto said, you know what it was about. And then he said, well, it's 3 Earth Ninja. There's 3 Earth Shinobi who infiltrated our base. And we have to find them. And we were split up in 3 ways. And then they split up. And he said, meet me at the secret place. And they were like, why there? And he said, it's the only place we can really go. Or to the Hokage's office. And they were like, yeah, let's go to the Hokage's office. And then he said, yeah, that would be a better idea. And then Naruto got his, and then went to the Hokage's office, waiting like. Then Lee got his guy, and then it took like 10 minutes later. Hinata finally got there with her person. It was a dude, a girl, and another dude. Let's just say that. And then the Hokage stood up. And then the third Hokage was like, whoa, I am being re-elected today. I'm being re-elected. He's like, who's gonna be the next president? I mean, the next Hokage. And he was like, well, it would be Hashirama. But Hashirama was already a Hokage. And I have a new person in mind. And he was like, yeah, okay. And he said, well, Naruto, it would be you, but you are still not old enough. He's like, yeah, no. And I bet I would have been elected Hokage when I was 12. And then he said, well, Naruto, that's actually true. You would have been elected Hokage when you were 10. And Naruto was like, what? And then he said, yeah, that's how strong you were when you were 10. You're even stronger now, which makes it better. He said, and kind of smarter. He said, what does that mean, old man? I know everything about it, what it needs to know. He said, what was the first Hokage's name? And he said, Hashirama. He's like, good. And then he asked the hardest question ever, and Naruto said that right answer. He's like, how did you know that? And he said, I studied books. And plus, a Minato DNA runs in my veins. And he said, that is true. And he was like, but anyway, no. Can we do something about this? And then he said, you three will interrogate. And I'll stay here and talk about the things. And then Naruto put out a katana and then put it in the ground and said, hey, you. And then he was like, oh, God, this is a shock. The guy was shocking. He said, hey, you. What are you doing? And returning our base. And he was like, the whatever Kage told us to come here and infiltrate the race. And he was like, why? And then he was like, we need to know enough information. He said, what if I killed you? And then he said, the whatever Hokage would be mad. Kage would be mad. And he was like, I don't care. And then he said, I could kill that guy. And he said, yeah. And then he said, that is why. And he said, okay. He said, so he put the katana up to their head and he said, I could kill you right now. I could care less if I could beat that Hokage or not. He's a scum. I could beat him any day of the week. And he said, what about Friday? And Naruto said, actually, I have something to do on Friday. And he's like, you couldn't beat him on Friday because that would be unexpected. And then he was like, I got this kid come on an advantage. What if the Hokage came on Friday? And then he was like, anyways, yeah, anyway, he was like, what point is he on this? Then I just tell you they're not just, yeah, basically. And then he said, well, anyways, I have a question for you. Like, what is that question? He said, what do you have in the police village? And why are you so mad at us? And what did we do to you? Well, you kind of attacked us. And he said, why? And then he told a fake story and was like, that is fake. I know everything about the shinobi. You decided to take one of our villagers for a prank or whatever. And it backfired. And some of your villagers horribly got killed. And then it was a guy, and he was like, stop talking about that. And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry that you're a little baby and you can't handle some things that I say. And then he was like, I'm not a baby, and I will kill you. I will eat you alive. And then he kind of got mad. And then he busted out of the chains. And then Naruto just kicked him in the face, knocking him out. He said, I'm killing this guy, Hokage. And then he was like, and then Ichi got up here and said, that would be on your record, Naruto. I cannot accept that. And he said, this is war, okay, God. And if I could, I would do anything for my village. And then he was like, I understand, Naruto, but it's not the right thing to do. Then the guy and that other girl, they look and they say, what is that guy? And then Naruto was like, well, it's the ancient god. And anyways, I don't want that to be on my record, but I have to do what I have to do if I want to. And he says, well, if you have to do it, Naruto, he said, goodbye, fellow shinobi. And then he's like, that's not a fellow shinobi. The Hokage said, and then Naruto said, he's still a shinobi. And then shinobi is fellow Tamari. And then he pushed down the katana, killing him, and then he stuck it out. And then the girl screamed, no! And Naruto was like, yes, it had to be done. And then the other two got killed by Naruto because Lee and Hinata were done listening, interrogating them. And we could not have the chance to let them escape Hokage. And then Hokage said, I understand Naruto. And then he said, Christian, can you stop inviting your friend here? He said, it's an ancient god. He comes when he wants. And then the ancient god just appeared and said, yep, that is right. And then he's like, hey, get out of here. And the Hokage said, what is that god, like a ghost or something? He just pops up whenever he wants. And Natsu said, whatever. And then he said, well, how are we going? I gotta go home. Then he said, oh, wait, where are you going? And then Naruto said, like I just said, home. And then he said, how are you going to leave through that way? It's literally going to hit ground. And then Naruto said, I have my ways. And then they just saw him jump off the balcony. And then Naruto perfect. And then Lee said, no, Naruto. Then they looked down and then just saw Naruto looking for him. And they're like, well, that's a weird sight to see. And then Naruto just walked home. And then they're like, and then the Hokage said, very impressive, Naruto. Very impressive. And then he heard a knock on his door. And then he was telling me, and he's like, come on, come in. He said, what do you want? And then Release said, hey, Naruto, can you train me? He said, sure, but I'm not training you to the full abilities. He said, why? He said, yes. He said, oh, I get it now. And then Naruto said, well, Naruto said, okay. Naruto said, it's really not, bro, sure. And then plus Naruto, and then Naruto said, even though he couldn't keep up with my speed, and, all of this eye stuff and all of my other stuff, even though he couldn't keep up with that stuff, he would still be my power level, which is not good, so. And he said, but it did take me at least, like, a year to learn all this stuff. He said, and then he said, a year? And I was said, well, actually, my speed and stuff. And he said, I don't want to know about the speed and stuff. He said, but anyway. And then he said, well, anyways, but guys, can you leave? It's really not the greatest time. He said, what do you mean? And Naruto said, I'm bored. And they were like, really, Naruto? And Naruto said, what? And he said, and plus, you guys don't want anything. And then I said, that's kind of true. And then they were like, well, we want to talk about something. And they started talking about something. And then he was like, cool, whatever. And then he said, now can you leave? And then they left. And then he went downstairs to see Hashirama lifting weights. And he was like, oh, hey, Hashirama, I didn't expect you to be down here. And he said, why didn't you expect that? This is kind of my workspace. Workspace? This doesn't look like a workspace. This just looks like some workout stuff. But yeah, that's my workspace. And this is where I work. And what do you mean? And then he was like, hey, wait, we gotta go talk about some stuff. And he said, but I'll be back. I gotta go tell her first. And he's like, you said, I gotta go tell your daughter first. And he said her name, obviously. I'm just trying to figure out a name. I do have one name in mind, but I don't know if I should use it. And then Naruto said, well, I'm going to go tell her first. And then Naruto, he said, but first I gotta go do something. He hopped in the shower and then put on his clothes. He wear like a suit or whatever, cause it was pretty, like, nah, let's just say he didn't wear a shirt. he wear what he's wearing right now, but then he told Hashirama's daughter what was going on, and then he put out all her stuff. Then he told Hashirama, he said, Hashirama, and then he said, Hashirama, no, come on, you gotta go to a new Hokage is being elected. You don't want to miss it. And then he went there, and the Hokage was Tsunade, but like I forgot who was, but like yeah, let's just say it was Tsunade right now. And then he started clapping. And then let's just say Tsunade was already away. And then Naruto, Tsunade, and he's like, and then she's like, "Do you want to gamble?" And then Naruto was like, "I have the perfect person for you." He said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Hashirama, Hashirama, I told you I'll find somebody exactly like you." He said, "Just hop on my back." And then Naruto jumps waist super hard, and then hit the ground lightly, like he teleported to the ground. Then and then he put Hashirama down and said, "Well, anyways, this is you guys are basically the same person, but just different, types." And then they both said, "You want to gamble at the same time?" And then they started laughing, and then they both said, "Sure." And Naruto said, "What's the problem?" And then they both seriously have a gambling problem. And then he said, Hashirama, when you're done with that gambling or whatever you're doing, come on. And then Naruto and Hashirama's daughter went home. And then they heard a knock on the door, and it was Tsunade and Hashirama, and they looked drunk. And then Naruto was like, "Ugh, what's wrong with you guys?" And then Hashirama was like, he was like, "Yeah, you're drunk." And as he's like, "We're drunk." He didn't even say the words right. He was like, "Well," he said like, "Wow, drunk." And then Naruto was like, "Oh yeah, sure." Then he carried Hashirama to his bed and laid him down, and then he said, "Well," and then he said, "Yeah, you too." And then he bodied flickered to her. He was about to body flicker to her place, but he didn't know where it was. So he just body flickered to the Hokage office, and he assumed it was there. And then he just let her sit there in a chair, like sit there in a chair. He's like, "Well, that's kind of weird," but anyways. So he went home and lay next to Hashirama's daughter, and then Naruto went to sleep. And the next day, Naruto felt a little bit energetic. He felt a little bit weird. And then Naruto realized that it was his birthday and that he was turning 18. He's like, dang it, now I gotta wait a couple more years. Couldn't they just had waited one more day until I could have been the Hokage? And then they heard Naruto fussing. They heard Naruto fussing, but they were downstairs, and it was a lot of people downstairs. Let's just say that. And then he said, "Oh, where's?" He said, "Whatever her Hashirama's daughter's name is." And then he said, "And where's?" And then he went downstairs and heard surprise. And then he looked over and saw a whole bunch of people. And it was Tsunade, Hashirama's daughter, let's just say like Sasuke and Itachi, Hinata Lee, Jiraiya, and a couple more people, the third Hokage, Lily, Amy, the ramen girl, the ramen guy as well, and one more person, or two more actually. actually one more. Hinata's mom or whatever. And I was gonna say Lee, but you know. And then Naruto's a cold. Wow. Didn't expect everybody to be here. And then he said, well, Naruto's here right there. Naruto said, oh yeah, I'm 18. I'm going to be a Kage. And then he said, oh wait, never mind. And then he was like, oh, Naruto, you already the Hokage. And then Naruto's like, wait, what? And then he said, well, Naruto, since you've been worthy, we forgot that it was going to be your birthday today. Then we remembered last night and we decided to wake you. He said, oh. And then they had for the AK and all of that. And then it was this thing. And not since Naruto liked to fight, it was a sparring tournament. And then oh my fault. I saw like 4 and then there was just 4. So I could kind of lose out. And it was a sparring tournament. It was a sparring tournament and the people who participated, it was very little people participating. It was Lee, Hinata, well, yeah, I said Lee, Hinata, Hashirama, Hashirama's daughter, and that was really it. Oh, Naruto and Tsunade. And the first match was that would be good. And then it was the first match was Hashirama's daughter, and Hashirama won. And then the next round was Tsunade and Lee, and then Tsunade won. And then the last round was Hinata and Naruto. And I should add 2 more people, but I don't know how to add. And then they said, well, what will it be, Naruto? A sparring, a 3-way sparring. And then Naruto said, that sounds fun. All 3 of some the Hokages. And then Tsunade said, I really don't count as a Hokage. And then he said, 1 day is enough. And he said, sure. And then they did a sparring session. And Tsunade was the first one out. And then it got kind of epic. Hashirama, he was kind of buff now. And he was faster. And then Naruto said, I see you have been buffer and faster. And then he was like, well, I will still beat you. I'm still stronger and faster. He said, you might be, but you have no match for these. And then he put out his Senju Shuriken and threw one at Naruto. Then Naruto pulled out his Senju Shuriken that he had and threw it at his. He was like, what are you? And he was like, how? Then Naruto activated his Rinnegan. He said, you're on your Chiha too? And then Naruto activated his Byakugan. He was like, you're also a healer? Then Naruto said, I'll explain it to you after this fight. And this is kind of a long one. Well, not long. But, and then he said, I'll explain it to you next time. And then he was like, next one, what do you mean? He said, anyways. And then he teleported behind Hashirama. And then right before Hashirama was about to get punched, he said, I forfeit. And then Naruto was like, oh, man. And then he said, oh, kid, you're really fast. And he said, how did you get back there so fast? He said, I used my Rinnegan to teleport. And then he was like, and then Hashirama was like, hey, isn't that cheating? You can't do that to an old man. And then he was like, well, I kind of can. You're supposed to Kage. And so I thought you would notice it. He said, that was way too fast. And it was unexpected. And then he said, yeah, okay. And then that's where I'm gonna be ending it off. Like, subscribe, but notice. Sadly, Reese Whatevs is not posting. He's not ready right now. He deleted one of his videos. I'm gonna just tell y'all that. So no more shout outs for him. Like, subscribe, but notice, and check out my gaming channel, Sir Claps, and I like you, Fudgy. Peace.